So, next sport topic, the elephant in the room.
What's up?
The Boston Celtics, man.
Oh, God.
It's been a long 16 years. Last time the Celtics won, I had a little better hairline, man. I was 25 pounds slimmer. Boy, oh boy, I was acting a fool in my house. I woke the whole house up. I'm yelling, banging on the walls. Let's go.
Yeah.
Man, it was a great time, man. Outside of my fandom, I'm going to keep my biases to the side because I have a couple bullet points under this talking about the Celtics.
Okay.
What was your overall view of the matchup, or how did you view it?
I think that as far as like the way the Celtics won it, or the way the Celtics
In general, anything.
I think that the fact that the Celtics, I kind of, I don't know, because I forgot who they got out of the East.
Who the Celtics played in the East?
Yeah, which is right on the tip of my head because they
The
lost
Pacers.
the Pacers.
Miami Heat.
I think that when they played the Pacers and the way they took them down, and it wasn't like it's no disrespect to Indiana. Indiana was dope. They just young. They're kids, you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm just saying they're young men. It's just like Boston had to expand, like they was ready. I think so. Once Dallas came, and it's no disrespect to Dallas, but I felt like Minnesota got cocky and they played the wrong defense.
Yep.
So had that been Minnesota, I don't know if Boston would won it. But being that it was Dallas, I knew Boston was going to win. I had Boston in 6, to be honest. A lot of people around me had Boston in 5. I had Boston in 6. I said, "Oh my God," because I think that, you know, with Tatum and Brown, and salute to Jaylen Brown, because there was a lot of things I was hearing, and I don't want to sidetrack, but let me just say this: like Tatum, they lost to Golden State in their prime, right?
Yeah. No, they weren't in there. They were 24, 23.
No, Golden State were in their prime.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying. So it wasn't like, you know, they were still up and coming and young. And I think what was even sweeter about this is I think Kyrie had made comments when he was in Boston saying that these guys don't know how to win, right?
We're going to talk
And then
about
all
Kyrie.
of a sudden, and then all of a sudden, then you leave, and every year, I mean, they went to the finals without you, got beat by a Golden State team in the prime.
6 Eastern Conference Finals in 8 years.
And then they come back, you know, I think 2 or 3 years later, and they come back and they win it. I think it was a number of things. It was the free agency moves they made. It was the sticking by their 2-star players. It now adds on to the argument of what me and you always talk about is that super team thing ain't going to wild out. Even though I know they got free agents, the 2 main stars are homegrown. You drafted those guys. So it wasn't like these just guys you just went and picked off the team or the best player off the team and put them together. You stuck with them. You know what I mean? But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just to add on to that, and I'll pass it back to you. The 2 stars they drafted, let's be honest, I knew Derek White was good, but he was on San Antonio. Nobody was paying attention to Derek White like that until he got to Boston and started showing his defensive capabilities at being a 6'5" guard. We knew Drew Holiday was good, and I'll talk about Drew versus Dame later. But Drew's getting up in age. He's 33, 34. So people thought, he'll come over there and be a contributor. And then even with Porzingis, he's good, but he's hit or miss with his health. 1 year he'll play 65 games. The next year he'll play 30. So you didn't know what you were going to get.
Facts.
But to your point, the 2 main stars got drafted because they flipped them picks back in 2013 with Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and others got traded to the Brooklyn Nets. So great GM work, but pass it back to you.
No, I think that, and let me tell you also, shouts out to, it's going to sound weird, shouts out to Ime Udoka, because he laid that blueprint, and you know, for whatever went down and whatever happened, which to me, I don't think the Celtics, I'm not going to absolve them of that, because that was real grimy what they did. But shouts out to Ime Udoka because he laid that foundation of where they're at now. It's kind of like what Mark Jackson did with Golden State, even though Steve Kerr gets all the credit. We all know Mark Jackson set that off.
Okay.
And if it wasn't for Mark Jackson, Golden State wouldn't have 3 or 4 or 5 rings, or how many rings they got. The same thing with Ime Udoka. This doesn't happen if Ime Udoka is not there those first few years. To also go into it, shouts out to Joe Mazzulla Because I think after what happened,
34-year-old black man.
after what happened last year, I think a lot of people were questioning, was he the right guy?
Was he in over his head?
Yeah, and then they came back this year and they definitely did it. So salute to that. I think that's two of the key things I kind of picked up, like memorized when they won the title.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people looking at Tatum and they wondering, can Tatum do it? And was Brown worth all this money that they gave? But I think to me it was about Udoka and Joe Mazzulla.
So there was a couple storylines heading into this from a Celtics standpoint of view.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna add on to what you're saying. One name that we got to add in there is Brad Stevens, who was the coach, but then moved up to front office or front management, however you want to word it.
Yeah.
He's showing that, yeah, you needed to be in the front office and not a coach, because the moves that he's made, like I couldn't fathom how he put that together.
Mm-hmm.
He was trading second-round picks to get Drew Holiday along with Malcolm Brogdon and others.
Wow.
So awesome GM work. But back to the storylines. Give me 1 second. So Jaylen Brown, we'll start with him, winning the Finals MVP. As you said, people were questioning, was he worth the 300 Supermax because of how, quote unquote, he didn't have a left hand and he was turnover pro.
Yeah.
I'll say this in response to Jaylen Brown. There was even some of us Celtic fans that was a little skeptical. Not saying he didn't deserve it, but saying, where are we going with this? What they didn't expect is a hungry person that wanted to improve every year. And I'll give it to him. What he showed in the last couple years, even when they lost the championship, was that he's the most consistent player, even over Tatum. I got the jersey on.
Right.
We're not going to fool ourselves. Tatum's great, and I think if they go to another finals, he's going to win a final MVP. But Jaylen Brown has showed to be the most consistent out of the two. Watching him mature and take leaps, show his workout videos of how hard he's training in the summer, I said, yo, this guy wants it.
With Jaylen?
Jaylen, yeah. He, you know, who was it? Brad was like, can you please stop doing those water exercises? He's like in 10 feet of water, lifting weights, doing lunges.
Really?
Like, so when people see how athletic he is and dunking on people and taking off and tomahawking, they're not seeing him do those workouts. They're not seeing him 15 feet underwater with 50-pound dumbbells doing lunges. And you know how crazy that is? That's like those swim routines.
Right, right.
That guy wants it. And what's so beautiful is watching him mature, knowing there's still another leap that Jaylen Brown can take.
Right.
And I'm going to address the sports media aspect of this last, because I got a lot to say on the Channing Frys, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Richard Jeffersons, the Kendrick Perkins, because some of those takes weren't bad. They were asinine. Getting back to, I'm going somewhere with that. Just put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jaylen Brown for blocking out the noise, him manifesting his destiny, him staying prayed up, as he says, faith, consistency, hard work, prayer, it's his acronyms, and putting all that into effect in his personal life and his game. A black man that stands for principles. I believe he's Muslim and he never hid from his religion. I asked on my social media platform, I said, hey, this is kind of funny. A guy that's been to all these Eastern Conference finals, athletic like he is. He comes from SoCal, very smart. They said he's in a STEM and all this great stuff. Why don't he have a sneaker deal like the rest of them? Because he's better than half of the people with sneaker deals.
Right.
They said a podcast clip came out a while ago where he said, he wanted ownership in that and those brands wouldn't budge. So he's standing on principles. He's trying to do something for the long run.
Right.
I'm not saying he's not going to get a shoe contract, but he's like, I'm not about to give up my creative control for some funky sneaker deal.
Yeah.
And how's that working out for him? It's working out pretty well.
Yeah.
He has a finals, an Eastern Conference player, and a finals MVP. Everything he wants is coming to him, and he's not forcing it. He's not selling himself, and he's not, how do you say it? He's not giving away his principles for a sneaker deal. So I want to say that for him.
Well, what are they asking? He's asking percentage of the sneaker, ownership of the sneaker, right?
Probably more creative control of, the design and
Yeah.
a lot
So why
of
not
stuff.
let them have it?
It's these corporations, eh? They going by what's the standard. He's like, I'm not the standard. Athletic dude from SoCal that's, doing TED Talks and inspiring the youth. I'm black, I'm Muslim.
You know what else was crazy? It was said that, they say he was like a very intelligent player.
Very intelligent.
And that was a knock against him.
They thought he wasn't going to be good in basketball because he read too much.
Yeah. You know how ignorant that sounds? Now, let me use this as a bullet point. And I'm pretty sure you're going to take this and do what you always do with it. Let that be a message to you young black kids and any kids of color and race, but especially young black boys. That's what they really think of you. I'm going to say that one more time. The fact that they thought he read too much and he was too intelligent, that they thought he wasn't going to have that same passion for basketball, that's what they think of you. I want you, every time you go to those sponsorships, those basketball camps, those sponsors that Nike and all of them, and those scouts, that's what they really think of you. They think of you, there's words for it, but they think of you as the big black buck. That's what they think of you. They think that you're stupid. They know that we know he's. I'm not gonna go into the tirade, but let me just give a side note, because I'm more into football than anything. The reason why the NFL made all those rules that gets those players suspended and gets them in trouble, because that's what they think of them. Because they know it's not going to affect Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. That's what they think of you. So it's the same thing with the NBA. Let that be a bullet point. That's what they really think of you every time you get on the floor. I hope Carmelo Anthony's listening. I hope LeBron James is listening, because your kids are going in there. Gilbert Arenas' son. I hope all y'all are listening. That's what they think of you and your kids coming in behind you. They think of y'all as big black bucks. The minute, if Bronny was to ever start talking like that, they'd be like, oh, no, we ain't drafting him. So I just want you to understand, as a side note, that's what they think of you. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it alone.
No, thank you for that bullet point, because that's exactly like this. I think this is these corporations' worst fear. A 6'6", dark skin. I'll say this too, because the colorism thing plays a part in it. Dark skinned black man who went to SoCal or SUNY Berkeley or SoCal, one of the top schools, and it wasn't just for basketball. It was for his academics. Did everything he did. Hold on, let me get this right, because there would be people correcting me in the comments if I don't get it correct.
Yeah, it's funny. They don't know what they talking about neither. And they don't ever have a podcast.
Okay, he went to the University of California, Berkeley. So I just want to put that out there. Went to Berkeley, which is one of the top schools. Very academic, intelligent. He's doing TED Talks. He's doing STEM conferences. And when he got drafted, the announcers were like, we heard about his academic intelligence. Is he really that much into basketball? Right. I swear to God, they said that in his draft comps.
Yep, that's crazy.
Fast forward to 7 years later or 8 years later, he didn't just win the championship. He shut down Luka Doncic, and we'll talk about that. He won a Finals MVP, and they're saying his jersey will be in the rafters. And as a Celtic fan, Jaylen Brown jersey will be in the Raptors. God forbid, I'm not going to put the negative out there. No injuries. I want him to be healthy.
Wow.
Healthy Jaylen Brown, 10 years from now, they're saying, we're putting his jersey up. He got 3 or 4 rings. But to piggyback off your point, they really use that as a knock on this brother.
That's
so
crazy,
to watch him go through that, never waver, stay strong with his faith, stay strong, not be too outspoken in the media. I was like, wow, man, this is a story that everybody needs to watch. So salute to Jaylen Brown. Another storyline was Jayson Tatum, a person who fell short 2 years ago in the finals, and he was a big talking point how he dropped the ball. This year, he started off very good. He was averaging close to 30 points in the regular season, but dropped out the MVP conversation after All-Star break. And the sports media, they acknowledged the team, but they was like, he's not as good as Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He's not as good as this person. There was wild takes from people like Nick Wright was like, he's not in the same tier as, Paul George and others. And I'll get into that later, but watching him overcome the conversation from sports media, even in the finals and playoffs, they wanted him to be a 40-point scorer like Luka Doncic. Can I ask you something? Luka's great, and I'm not going to take anything away from him. Scores 30 points, right? How did that affect them winning?
Back in the line because he couldn't play no defense.
Did you see, there was a clip going around on Twitter or wherever. They made a highlight tape of how bad his defense was, where people were walking past him.
Really?
There's like a 2-minute highlight clip of them saying, oh, game 1, look at 5 people walk past, like not like do a fancy crossover. They're just like fake pivot, go to the basket. It looked so terrible. I was like, how is this your top 3 player? This would be equivalent to a quarterback in the NFL who can throw touchdowns, but he can't read defenses.
Yeah.
So he'll throw a touchdown, but he's getting sacked 20 times.
Right.
He'll pass for 300 yards, but he's losing every single game because he can't read defenses.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Jayson. It was good to see him overcome all the fake criticism. And I'm going to touch on y'all sports analysts because I felt it was fake outrage. They're still doing it today after the championship. Nick Wright and Chris Broussard is like, oh, he still has more to prove. He's 26 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, well, is he really in that top conversation with Luka and them? I don't think so. Luka hasn't won yet. He needs to sit over there until he win.
Chris Broussard said that?
Chris Broussard said, wow, Jayson Tatum isn't in the same tier as Luka, Giannis, and Joker. So here's 2 I'll give them. Joker, yes. He has 3 MVPs, a title, a finals MVP, so forth.
Yeah.
Giannis, he has an MVP over Tatum.
Right.
Luka has none of those accolades. He shouldn't even be at the conversation lunch table or however you want to word it.
Super facts.
So watching Jayson Tatum was like, yo, I don't care what y'all say. Y'all could say it's Jaylen Brown's team because they was starting that goofy stuff. Is it Jaylen Brown's team? Who cares? We won the championship.
Really doesn't. Really doesn't.
I thought winning was the end goal in sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like with me and you doing business. If somehow, not somehow, when Enveonline breaks up, you really think I'm going to be sitting up here like, well, that was my idea? No, it's your idea.
Right.
We both played a part in it.
Right.
I don't care about no credit as long as we get to the end goal.
Facts. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
That's the
here.
end goal.
Right.
So it was fun to see all those sports analysts bust a brain cell discussing who team it was.
Yeah, I don't get that. That went over my head.
Put a pin in it because I got a theory that I'm gonna touch on.
Well,
last 2 bullet points under this Celtic conversation. Celtic roster and winners and losers. So I'm gonna start off with the roster. The reason why I was confident in them, even if the Timberwolves would have won, was because of the quote unquote 5-out style of offense the Celtics play, which is they got 5 players that start that can give you 25 points, and it's not hyperbolic. Jayson Tatum can average 27 to 30 points. Jaylen Brown averaged 25 points. We saw games where Derek Wright scored throughout the season 27 points, even in the playoffs. Same thing with Drew Holiday, and we all know Kristaps Porzingis, when healthy, gives you that. So in my head, it was like, how do you stop that mathematically? I hate to bring analytics into sports because I love to look at sports, and I hate the analytics side. But from an analytic point of view, how do you match that?
True.
I saw games in the season where Luka Doncic had a 30-point triple-double against the Celtics, and they got blown out by 40 points.
Yeah.
I was very confident when the Mavs won. I was like, do y'all really know what's going to happen?
Right.
He had a 30-point, it was like 38 points, 13 rebounds, and 12 assists, and they lost by 38. I was like, that's the best y'all got?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the great Kyrie Irving and all his sage burning and stepping on Lucky and all his
yeah.
Hilla and all his sayings and tribal. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yo, you ain't buying
luck.
that. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
their roster construction. Shout out to the Celtics front office. Shout out to Brad Stevens. What everybody's saying is this new collective bargaining agreement that's happening this summer is gonna hurt teams like the Celtics. But I'll say this: I hope the ownership is looking at this saying we could do something special over the next 5 years. So I need to go on a luxury tax the same way the Golden State Warriors went in the luxury tax.
They sure did. They spent the money and they
You
want to
be cheap and not pay cats because you want to save on a contract or two. Look at the Golden State Warriors. They're just now, quote unquote, falling off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we still don't know if they got a trick up their sleeve.
Yeah.
So if you're the Celtic ownership, do you not want this to go beyond 2 or 3 years? Do you not want this to go into Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown being in their mid-30s? Mm-hmm. Because there's cats out there like Paul George who's 34, 35, and they think he's the missing piece in Philadelphia.
Really?
Yeah.
He's never going to leave L.A.
Just in general. Just hear what I said.
Go ahead, yeah.
Paul George never won anything.
Right.
He's 34 years old. He's a lesser version of Tatum. And they think he's the missing piece to Joel Embiid in the 76ers.
Yo.
No shots. This is reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jayson Tatum was making Paul George fall over himself about 2 or 3 years ago. Everybody said Jayson Tatum surpassed Paul George 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
So now you're telling me a 34-year-old is the missing piece to the 76ers. Let's do math. Jayson Tatum is 26. So if I'm the Celtic ownership, I want this to stretch way beyond 5 years. I want this to stretch until to Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown is like 36 years old.
Correct.
And in order to do that, I'm going to have to spend some bread. So I hope y'all ownership is ready for this. I'm going to give Jayson Tatum his contract, which he's going to get, and give Derek White that extension. You do that, yes, you're going to get taxed, but you will be in contention every year for the next 5 to 6 seasons. Mm-hmm. So that's my bit on the Celtic roster and the upper management. I want to play a little game. Not a little game, but the last bullet point is winners and losers.
Okay.
You could frame that however you want. But basically the gist of this is who are the biggest winners in this situation? Obviously the Celtics, but we'll throw some things out there. And who are the biggest losers in this? So I'll start with you first.
The biggest winners?
Yeah.
From the Celtics? I think Drew Holiday's a winner too, because that's like his second ring. Ain't
there
it?
you go.
And
there you go.
I think
you get the gist.
I think Brad Stevens is kind of smart. I read this article too. I don't need to tell you this.
Go ahead.
From Jeff Zilgett, and he's from USA Today. In this article,
here's the article he's referring to. I want to hold it up. What's the author name?
Jeff Zilgett.
Shout out to Jeff Zilgett for this article on the Boston Celtics. Go ahead.
And he's kind of like breaking down, literally everything. From the Celtics, the way they got there, the important parts of the series, what got them to win this series, what's going to happen, why they have a better chance next year. And in one particular part, he talked about Brad Stevens and the great job he did. But then he talked about the moves they're going to make, because I think Drew Holiday signed an extension to be past, so for 3 years. That's not to mention, we all know Tatum's going to get his deal. Jaylen Brown's locked up, and then I think Porzingis is still there for another 2 years, right? So on everything on the back end, they weren't just saying we're going to run it back. They made sure they kept the pieces intact that got them there. They're not looking to move on. So I think when you look at that, I think that they're the biggest winners. I think Stevens is one of the biggest winners. Clearly now, if there was any question about Tatum getting that deal, that went all out the window. So clearly he's one of the biggest winners. And I think, I said Drew Holiday. I think as far as the biggest losers, and I don't mean it like biggest losers like in a degrading way, but Luka is definitely going to have to fix some things. I think the way that you look bad defensively, it needs to be fixed. The fact that you look overweight and people are taking advantage of it.
I thought that was just me. Like, he looks 20 pounds chubbier.
Yeah.
But he gets by people with his handle, and I get it.
Yeah.
But if you can't play deep, like there was plays where he would lay on the ground, and people are running past, and he's still on the floor 15 seconds later. Like that's you being. I'm not body shaming. That's you being out of shape. Well, go ahead.
No. I'm agreeing with you 100%. So I think that he needs to figure out, like, Luka is definitely a loser in this, and I'm gonna be honest, Kyrie. Other than he's a loser because he couldn't play in Boston. Like it just went bad for him every time.
Did you hear the comments like after the third or fourth game? Like I guess he was trying to like get in their head. It's like, you know, like at first he apologized, like, maybe I could have matured in some ways. But then he was like shifting the blame back to Boston ownership. I think after game 4, he said, oh, well, if you want to go play over there, just make sure you do your research first. Because I felt like I was kind of pushed out. Yeah. Oh, do your research. How did that work out for the Celtics?
You were pushed,
go ahead.
You were pushed out. First of all, you were pushed out because they saw that Kyrie was a different, and I'm not saying that he's lying, but that Kyrie was a different person than the one we know now. And let's be honest about this. And we said we were going to talk about this. I don't know if you want to talk about it now or not, but I'll let you lead that with that door. That Kyrie is different from the Kyrie we got now.
We got humble Kyrie now because everybody said this is his last chance in the NBA. Yep. You forced your way over to Brooklyn, and Boston spanked that ass. Let's call it what it was.
Right.
With a healthy you and a healthy Durant. So I don't want to hear nothing about. Jayson Tatum was running circles around y'all. That didn't work in 3 years, and then you was injured and whatever. Then what team did he go to after that for a year? Am I missing a team?
No, he went to Dallas, I think.
Okay, so it didn't work in Boston, and Boston showed they can win without you. Then you went to Brooklyn for 3 or 4 years and made you talked about it. You went viral.
Circus, yeah.
You made it a circus show.
Yeah.
Everybody was saying for how good you are with your injuries and your antics, I don't see another team giving you a 3 or 4 year deal. Like you would be on yearly deals for the rest of the
year. Yeah.
Somehow Mark Cuban said we want that. So everybody knows you had to change your attitude.
I think Jason Kidd believed he could fix it. Mm-hmm. Whatever was going on with him, he could fix it, and clearly he did. But I don't think he fixed it. I think it's like what you said. Your ass was about to get blackballed out of this league. Like they wasn't gonna play that game with you. Nobody wants to deal with that. Let me give you a comparison. You see what's going on with the Clippers? Mm-hmm. Who wants to deal with that? I feel bad. I don't feel bad for him because he's a billionaire, but I feel bad for him because I know this guy.
He gave them what you say about the Nets.
Gave them control.
Joe Tsai gave them everything they wanted.
Yep.
Go to the Clippers.
Yeah.
Boom gave them everything. Y'all want to play together in Cali? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Here goes the money. You want a 4-year contract? You want to? Yeah. Even though you're injured in the playoffs, here goes the money.
Yeah.
What is his return on this?
Nothing. First round playoff exits.
Go ahead.
I mean, so the thing is with Kyrie, like you're gonna have to. I mean, now it's looking like Kyrie's the man. You just got to get past Boston. But I don't think, I'm going to be honest, and I keep saying this, and people are going to think I'm crazy. Minnesota let you win because Minnesota, I mean, he was doing his thing, but if Kyrie, they played the wrong defense. They wanted to man up on Dallas, and they can't play man. Not against Kyrie. Kyrie will get past you. So they didn't know how to guard him. But I think, honestly, with Dallas, we'll see if you can come back next year. We'll see.
Good luck. Do you see how the West?
Now people are seeing that
Luka can't play defense.
They're gonna go right after him. They're good. They're gonna go after him. Yep.
Bring your ass up here at the top of the key.
Yeah. Yeah, unless they play zone and make you run into him.
Good luck.
You gotta go against.
They tried that with Boston, and Boston gave the blueprint. Here's the thing.
Like that. No, what I'm saying is like what Dallas would do is say, "Hey, we'll force everybody to Luka, knowing that he can't play out in the."
They did that with Jayson. They did that.
Okay, then
Jayson Tatum got 12 assists a game. Good luck.
Good.
You know the Timberwolves are coming back strong next year. They was right there.
Yeah, facts.
What's other teams? Oh, the great Ja Morant. We all know he's gonna get his head right and he's gonna come back. So let's look at the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
What other teams are there? There's about three
The
or four.
Pelicans.
The Pelicans. Nah, they're last. Let's put the Pelicans aside.
Okay.
We still got Denver.
We got OKC that's young and upcoming.
OKC.
And they were the number 1 seed this year.
And
They
played
just didn't
very
have the
good.
experience. Yeah.
They're gonna come back healthy.
Denver. They
yeah.
okay, you said Denver. Okay, I'm sorry.
We still don't know if Golden State has a trick up their sleeve.
Yeah.
I always have to respect the champions, whether I like them or not. They got 4 titles in their run.
Yeah.
They might pull off something that has them in contention.
Especially if they free up money from Klay Thompson.
Yeah. Shout out to Klay Thompson for following people on social media. But
Yeah,
whatever.
I saw that.
So I'll give my take on the winners and losers between the Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay.
For me, the winners, and it's going to sound cliche, is everybody involved in the Celtics. That's the fans, because we've been waiting for 16 years. That's the ownership. That's Brad Stevens and the owners. And that's all the way down to the players. That's the biggest winners, because I know it's no better feeling to say, we hung up banner 18 and we got one up on the Lakers. Shout out to LeBron James. You still the GOAT, but we got one up on you. We talked about Jaylen Brown. I'm going to keep saying it, for a young athlete from his demographic from Marietta, Georgia, to overcome everything he went through in his personal life. He posted on his social media that in high school, the tweet's still up there. He said, yeah, my teacher said that in 5 years I'm going to be in jail or dead.
Jaylen Brown said that?
Yeah, his teacher in high school in Marietta, Georgia.
How is he still teaching?
Come on, I had some teachers say some stuff. You know why. But the point I'm making is...
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I just want to say something. I'm sorry. I promise you, if my son ever comes home and tells me I'm going to lose my freedom, promise you that. That teacher is probably going to be in early retirement. It's like when at one time, not to sidetrack, I saw where this kid must have got into it with a teacher. The teacher ran down on him and slammed him into the wall, his head into the wall, and then he retired that day. Yeah. He wouldn't have retired that day because he wouldn't have made it home. You ain't going to make it home. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, but him overcoming, the racial stigmatism of a teacher telling him, in 5 years you're going to be in jail or dead, and he went to Berkeley academically.
Wow.
As a black man.
Right.
I'm going to keep saying that throughout this when I talk to Jaylen Brown. Address him as such, a very intelligent brother who went to Berkeley.
Yeah.
He's a big winner, because for somebody who didn't let the media talk to break him and Jayson up. Athletes got egos.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I ain't feeling, let me see if I can get a little trade. He could have asked for a trade.
Yeah.
But him and Jayson Tatum have kept their peace behind the scenes, stuck together, and here we are.
Do you think there was an issue?
No, I just said media.
Oh, media, okay.
Media,
okay. Yeah.
Can they coexist? They're still doing it now after they won. I'm going to get on, again,
Okay.
I'm gonna put it in it. They're still doing it now after they won.
Yeah.
Who's the better person? Again, who cares? Banner 18 is up. But back to the winners. So the whole Celtic organization, obviously Jayson Tatum, because anytime you win before your prime, like they say your athletic prime is 27, 28.
Correct.
Anytime you win a championship at 26, it leaves the door open, especially if you're healthy, to say they're going to win 2 or 3 rings before he's 35. Him doing that, big up the big deuce, a.k.a. Jayson Tatum. Biggest losers in this. There's a lot of losers. And I don't mean this from all of the Mavs loss. I'm talking about the whole topic. So I'll start off, and this is I know this goes against what you said about Emmy, but I'm not trying to be funny. Ime Udoka, much love. I'm not going to tear a brother down, but here's some facts. You fumbled Nia Long and a championship team. You are up there, my brother.
Oh, God.
Ime Udoka.
Oh, God.
My Nigerian brother.
Yeah.
My Nigerian brother, Ime Udoka.
Jesus, Lord of mercy. I'm not going to say nothing.
You shame your village.
Yeah.
You fumbled Nia Long and the Celtic championship. You up there. That's A. Player Grant Williams. He was on the Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to say that again slowly. He was on the Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks, and then even end up on neither one of those teams and got shipped to got shipped to Charlotte. Because
Really?
apparently, this is from the media. I don't know if this is true. There was some locker room stuff from him.
Wow.
So they got him up out of there. Maybe Dallas could have used him. Hey. I agree with you on the Luka take. I think because how the pedestal the media put on Luka, there's no way you look at that highlight tape that's viral of him literally getting walked by. And unless you're a meat writer like Nick Wright, still have him in the top 3 conversations. Kyrie, I don't think he's that big of a loser in this situation. You're still in the league. You went for a championship. You humbled yourself. I would say who's a bigger loser than Kyrie, and this is where I'm going to go in at, sports media. We do media on a smaller level. We're independent. We're not signed to Fox. We're not signed to
ESPN,
anybody podcast.
Disney.
We're not affiliated with no players, no sports analysts. We know that journalism integrity is important. Like sometimes I got to put my fandom to the side and keep it real. Even about I did that before about the Celtics.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, you're not a real fan because you're going hard on them." No. If I'm not going to give constructive criticism, then I can't be fair and partial as a sports journalist. Why am I saying that? When we watched, if you watch any of the ESPN segments, before the series, they went to massive amounts of media members. The Kendrick Perkins, the Stephen Smiths, everybody. Who do you think is going to win? They got a clip of this. Everybody's like Mavs in 5.
Bugging.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion. Go ahead.
With the exception of Molly Curran. I hate to say it, but yes, Molly was the only one that picked the Celtics.
Yeah, shout out to Molly Curran. Everybody's entitled to their sports opinion, but when you're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, it has to make sense. I'll give you an example, then I'm going to go in on a sports analysis. You like football, you know football. This is equivalent of me saying, well, I like Coach Prime's son. What's his name? The young.
Shador?
I like Shador Sanders. He's gonna come in right away and blow right past Lamar Jackson because he's cooler. How does that sound?
That sounds craziness. Sounds foolishness.
It sounds foolish, and especially if I played football before. You would say, Deshaun, you played football before. That doesn't even. That's not even biased. That's asinine.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
he's cooler. So. I'm listening to Shannon Fry and Richard Jefferson, who's an NBA champion, who played, 17, 18 years in the league. And when they started their segment and talking about the Mavs and the Celtics, it wasn't that they picked them. It's like they showed their hand. They said Derek Lively, who's a rookie from Duke, they would take him over Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford.
Wow.
This is like, so at first I was kind of tripping, like, why are all these sports analysis picking Mavs? Maybe they just like the Mavs because everybody says F Boston.
Yeah.
But Richard Jefferson and Shannon Fry showed y'all hands. And I have a theory that I'm going to hit on. I said there's no way from 2 players that played in the NBA is taking this rookie off of Kristaps Porzingis. Why? Because we could look at the output. On one leg, with him being 75%, he averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds on 60% shooting. When has this rookie Derek Lively ever did that at any point of this year?
Right.
So how do you take Derek Lively? Oh, we would rather take Derek Lively over Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford. Huh? That's not a take. That's an asinine. Kristaps Porzingis on one leg played better than Gafford and Lively combined. And he only played 2 games because he barely played that last game. He was like in for like 10 minutes.
Right.
I'll say it slowly. On one leg, Kristaps Porzingis played better than Gafford and Lively combined. So my antennas went off. What's been going on in sports objectively outside of sports? What's been a sponsorship that you hear all these podcasts talking about? And I'm going to see if you're going to catch it. They start their podcasts off, take my advice and go do what?
Campbell, bet. Yeah. Yeah.
See where I'm going with this?
First Take has their gambling people. The gambling
Sports
guy, yeah.
bet. Here's the take. I yapped for 5 minutes, so I'll get straight to it. Once Richard Jefferson and Shannon Fry picked Lively over Kristaps Porzingis and others, I said, ding, 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 sports betting done fried their brain.
Yo, no, you didn't.
Y'all two effed it up for everybody else. Before I was confused, I said, this, even Kendrick Perkins, he didn't make that statement, but I'm saying them picking Mavs in 5 didn't make sense because analytically, the Mavericks didn't beat the Celtics in a year and a half. I'll say that again. Analytically, Boston beat the Mavericks in the last 6 games in a year and a half.
Right.
So saying Mavs in 5 or Mavs in 6, y'all gotta have the players, not Stephen A. Smith, not Nick Wright, the basketball players, the Kendrick Perkins, the Shannon Fries, and the Richard Jeffersons should have beyond knew better.
Yeah.
And then justifying it by picking Lively over Kristaps in the series, saying we all know he's gonna play better.
Lively's gonna play better than Porzingis.
There was a game where he barely had 2 rebounds and Kristaps had 18 points in 13 minutes on one leg. So my antennas went off and said, oh, y'all got FanDuel accounts. Now, there's nothing wrong with sports betting.
It's a FanDuel accounts.
Gamble at your own risk. But this is why they took that option away from players. I'm going to go a step further and say the sports analysis, there needs to be a rule on that because now y'all are hurting the integrity of journalism. That's my take.
Right.
Some of y'all are making y'all takes on y'all podcasts on the network based on who y'all got on y'all FanDuel account. Who's on the over, who's the money line. That's what I got watching all of y'all shows, watching Richard Jefferson and Shannon Fry make that asinine statement, and y'all played before and y'all champions. I don't know about Shannon Fry, but Richard Jefferson has a championship.
Right.
Nick Wright, he's always been biased. Udonis Haslem, okay. He's always been biased. But when the players like Kendrick Perkins in them, I said, this got FanDuel written all over it.
Oh, my God.
This hurts sports journalism integrity because I can tell when y'all bullshitting us to our face.
Yeah.
So everybody's entitled to their opinions, but you guys are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to keep it real with us on something we love. Don't let y'all FanDuel accounts do this again. Don't let y'all FanDuel accounts make y'all say something crazy.
Oh, my God, yeah.
They were, before this take, I think it was Richard Jefferson when they was going on who's the best players. I give it to him. Everybody's going to take Luka as number 1. They was like Luka, Kyrie, Lively, Gafford, and then Jayson Tatum and Jaylen. I was, what has Gafford did to put him over Jaylen Brown?
Right.
Oh, Kyrie Irving over Jaylen Brown. How did that work out? Because there was plays that he was clamping Kyrie.
Right.
Forget adding Drew Holiday and them. But I was like, yo, this is. It took me like 3 days to figure that out, or at least that's my hypothesis. My take, my hypothesis is the reason why so many sports analysis chose Dallas, not in 7, but chose Dallas in 5 or 6, had to do with sports betting sponsorships from FanDuel. What is your opinion on that?
Well, as far as with the analysts, I don't know what they were thinking. I didn't get what they were seeing with Dallas. I'm like, really? Dallas?
If you said the Timberwolves in 5, I would have understood, even though I'm a Celtic fan, because of how hot Ant-Man was.
Yeah, no.
But go ahead.
I didn't understand why they kept picking Dallas. I don't really got too much to say about that. Why would you pick Dallas? Dallas didn't because they were the hot team? Did you not see what Boston was doing to people? They swept Indiana in their prime. Like, Indiana's young in their prime and like to run up and down the court. And they ran right up and down the court with them.
Indiana had a better offensive rating than Dallas.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what they did to Indiana, what they did to who am I missing?
They did to Dallas in the regular season.
But not to mention Miami, what they did to Miami. Who else did they play?
I don't know if it was Philadelphia without Joel Embiid. It was somebody.
Yeah,
oh, no, I'm sorry. The Cleveland Cavaliers,
Man.
who had Donovan Mitchell for 2 or 3 games, and then Donovan Mitchell got hurt.
But they got all these young teams in their prime, and they kind of like dominated in a way, like not that the teams weren't good at playing, but they young guys like that, they'll like win 1 or 2 games. They weren't even doing that. So if they were doing that, what did you think Dallas was going to do?
Not
What
just
did you think
do
was
it,
going
but
to do to
doing it in 5
Dallas?
games.
But yeah, what do you think Dallas was going to do?
Dallas in 6.
Nah. You gotta remember too, man. I don't know. Let me say this. Dallas will get better next year.
They will.
They'll try to figure out how to get back.
Somebody's getting traded.
But I don't know what those analysts were thinking. I remember Stephen A. Smith said that I think Molly was the only one. She was the only one that saw, like, made common sense, and not to like give her all the props, but like she asks us great questions and she has a great outlook on things. But she was the only one that picked the Celtics. She was the only one. Andrea Carter did too, but she was there like after the series had started.
Yeah.
I'm talking about before all that. Yeah,
started. Yeah.
Molly was the only one that was like, "Yo, I got the Celtics in 6."
Shout out to Molly for using her sports analytics head and not thinking with her FanDuel account. Celtic fans, salute you, Molly. Because you were the only one up there with a brain.
Oh, my God.
Not Udonis Haslam, not Kendrick Perkins, not Stephen A. Smith. So big salute to Molly from the Boston Celtics. We appreciate you for actually thinking up there.
Oh, my God.
So let me ask you straight up. Do you think, because the players get affected by sports betting, Michael Porter Jr., his little brother, got kicked out the league because they found him for sports betting. He was on the Toronto Raptors as like a bench player or whatever. Do you think that sports analysts who have to have a certain level of integrity to give us a great product on air, do you think there should be rules and restrictions from them doing sports betting? Because clearly something's up.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Doggy does it from Mad Dog Radio, from Stephen A. Smith's show on Wednesdays. He be doing it, but I don't think he holds any weight on that. I think he just makes bets, like not FanDuel. I think he just makes bets like how I like old school bets, like how I make old school bets. I won't get into that right now though. But long story short, what I'm saying is, there needs to be something held accountable, especially if you're like looking for some fantasy points or FanDuel or whatever, man. That's not Gucci at all. That's not.
So I'll end this segment because we're like
he's calling him out. Yeah, he's calling him out.
We're like north of 45 minutes on this.
Okay.
But the analysts are already starting saying, "Oh, I don't see how they will repeat next year or even in the future." Mm-hmm. Oh, the East is going to get stronger. I'm pretty sure you heard that. Here's my problem with that take from the sports analysts again. Mm-hmm. If you look up the record with, let's say, the Celtics versus Philadelphia, the Celtics have beaten the 76ers, healthy, unhealthy. I think they're like 3-0 against the playoffs in them.
Okay.
With the Bucks, they beat the Bucks twice. They lost once and beat the Bucks twice. With Kyrie, no, I think both times was without Kyrie or whatever. Or after whatever, I just know they beat them twice. So they beat a healthy Giannis twice. Outside of Embiid and Giannis, who are the players in the East that are going to give them trouble healthy? Because I hear people talking about the Miami Heat with the great Jimmy Butler.
Who's going to give Boston a problem? It ain't going to be Miami. It ain't going to be Miami. I would have liked to see what the Knicks look like healthy with Randall.
I do too.
I want to see,
and
what
I'll
the
agree
Knicks
with
look
you
like.
on that.
Yeah, I want to see
healthy
what they
Knicks
look
because
like.
their defense and their rebounding.
Yeah, I want to see what it looks like with them. I think Indiana will be back, but Indiana's got to figure it out. They can't just keep running up and down the court.
They just signed Siakam to a 4-year extension.
Yeah, they got to figure that out. Something's got to change with that, because as much as Indiana likes to run up and down the court and all that, when you ran into a team that was just it's kind of like the equivalent of, I like to talk football. When Chip Kelly came to the NFL with his offense, that worked for only a certain amount of time, because it's not like college where you got corners that are scared to run that offense. There's corners in the league that like to run with you when you want to play an offense like that. So when you want to run your offense and say, let's spread it out, There's corners like Richard Sherman. There's corners like Deion Sanders. There's corners like Chris McAllister. There's corners like Bubba Franks. There's corners like the Ravens cornerbacks. They like to run too. That ain't gonna work. Good luck with that, but that's not gonna work. So it's the equivalent like with Indiana. You like to run up and down, and that it scares a lot of teams. But to a team like Tatum and them, that don't scare them. To a team, to be honest with you, with New York, if they'd been healthy, I don't know if that would have really been an intimidating factor.
Honest, a healthy New York with Randall.
Right. So it's cool. You're gonna have to learn how to control and manage the game and do it. So, but not to sidetrack, but I do think Indiana will be back. The question is, what are you gonna do to take the next step? You get what I'm saying? Like you took the step that was necessary because nobody saw you coming. Next year, everybody gonna see you coming. But I think right now, if Embiid, depending on what's going on with his leg, I don't really see Philly in New York. It depends on what's going on with his leg and what move they're gonna make to help Embiid. Because did you
see him in Game 3 or Game 4 when they had him up there in the announcers and he was like looking at Paul George like, yeah, we got to get better in the off season. Look, if I'm not correct, you had a healthy James Harden over there for what, 2 years? Is James Harden still? I forgot where James Harden plays for.
He's in the Clippers, man.
Okay. Yeah. You had a healthy James Harden over there, and Boston spanked y'all then. You got Tyrese Halliburton. What is Paul George going to do over there? You don't think James Harden is better than Paul George?
Do I think James? Yeah, I guess.
Like, either you're going to be healthy in the playoffs or not.
Yeah.
I forgot something. Going back to the winners and losers, I totally forgot this. One of the biggest losers outside of Ime Udoka fumbling Nia Long in the Celtics.
Oh, God. Yo, he's not going to stop talking about that.
Shout out to my daughter for this cup.
Oh, God. Jesus.
Is the Milwaukee Bucks. Because they traded or gave away Drew Holiday and send them over there to the Trailblazers to get Damian Lillard. And the Celtics threw some draft picks and got Drew Holiday. Wow. And you got Dame time. And the clock is ticking on Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
So the biggest loser, in my opinion, is the Milwaukee Bucks for handing the Celtics Drew Holiday. And he's locked up over there for 3 years. But even more specific is Damian Lillard. You never won nothing. You never won a conference final. Yeah, you got them logo threes, but you're not a winner. And if you don't win with the Milwaukee Bucks in the next 3 years, people are going to say you're done.
Yeah.
People are going to pitch you way below the Chris Paul category. Because even though Chris Paul hasn't won, we know he's a Hall of Fame point guard.
Right.
You're nowhere near the level of Chris Paul. So shout out to you pointing at your wrist and talking about his Dame time, but it is Dame time. It's time for you to win something. Shout out to the Celtics, man.
Yeah.
It's been a long 16 years. Shout out to Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum for not letting the media split them up and not let the egos get ahead of them. Shout out to the fan base, the social media. Shout out to Brad Stevens. Shout out to the ownerships. Everything Boston Celtics. Bask in your glory and troll up on social media. Give them hell. Every post y'all make, we giving y'all hell out there all summer.
Yeah.
Salute to the Celtics.